Right now, though, we're going to talk to Fiona McAnena, who's the director of Sex Matters, because Kemi Badenoch has asked people to report public bodies which fail to offer single-sex spaces. You'll see what the NHS came out with just the other day. They're going to change their constitution. They're going to suddenly discover common sense and work out that, you know, there are certain unalienable facts which cannot be changed when it comes to sex and when it comes to gender. There's concerns that local councils and other government organisations and public sector bodies in particular are misinterpreting guidance. Fiona, very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Morning.
Thanks for coming on. What can you tell us about why it is that the public sector in particular has become so obsessed with all of this stuff? Because it didn't used to be like that. You know, you used to be able to be quite happily frustrated by your local council for one reason or another without being asked if you were, you know, non-binary or you wanted a gender-neutral toilet. But suddenly they've all gone mad for it.
Yeah. Well, what seems to have happened is that they've gone and consulted trans lobby groups about policies to suit trans people. Right. And they've only talked to trans people and those groups, and they've not considered the impact on everyone else. And of course, 99 and, you know, point something % of all of us are quite happy being male or female. And actually, almost everyone wants single-sex provision when it comes to places where we're getting undressed or just, it's just embarrassing, isn't it? Nobody wants to be in the toilet next to their boss if they're the other sex. But the policies have been written entirely to centre the needs and the preferences of the trans person, and that's how we've ended up with this mess.
And have they just been clever at lobbying, and we've just sort of allowed it to happen somehow around us, or what?
I think that's probably right. I think that, you know, we had gay rights movements 20 years ago, and they made huge progress. And then this kind of, I don't know, picked up on the back of that. And a lot of people in the workplace thought it was a similar thing. So you mentioned local authorities, public sector. It's also workplaces everywhere. You see it a lot in transitioning at work policies, where they just say the trans person can start using the facilities of the other sex from day one, and with no consideration for other people. We see it also in sport, a lot in sport,
But I wonder whether that tide is turning. With Kemi Badenoch now saying that she wants to sort of check it, I think, a little better, and the NHS Constitution coming out this week as well, it seems to me that some people are getting a bit fed up with it, because it has kind of happened without anybody really noticing, and suddenly you go to do something and you realise, oh, I can't do that anymore, or I have to say this now, or I have to be, you know, compos mentis when it comes to trans rights on seemingly everything.
Well, I think she's absolutely nailed it, that people have misunderstood the law and activist groups have intentionally misled them on the law.
Yes.
You know, we had that confirmed by a barrister, a KC, Akua Reindorf, when she did a review for Essex University, and she said to them that Stonewall had represented the law as they wished it to be and not how it is. So what Kemi Badenoch is doing is saying, let's help everyone understand the law so that everyone's needs are considered. I'm delighted by this.
Yes, and hopefully you won't get too much sort of opposition from inside the organisations, because an awful lot of jobs have been given out to sort of diversity and inclusion officers and NHS jobs, which should be probably being spent on hiring maybe more nurses. We hear it all the time. You know, we haven't got enough nurses, but don't worry, we've got plenty of net zero coordinators and we've got plenty of diversity and inclusion officers. You know, I'd like to see some of that being rowed back as well.
Well, it's true, there's a whole industry of inclusion, diversity, equity, all of that stuff. But I think most people want to do the right thing. And the problem is they've been misled and they've completely centered one group at the expense of other groups. And, you know, when you poll people, the vast majority of people do not want single-sex provision to be taken away, but many of them thought they had no choice. So what's going to happen now is we will understand the law does give us choice. It does entitle us to that safety and privacy and dignity, and hopefully we'll be able to restore common sense.
Yes, and just in case you needed to be to have your kind of thoughts and your ideas absolutely and utterly complimented, it turns out that unisex toilets are the most unhygienic toilets you can ever use, and that piece of news came out yesterday. And I think most women would certainly agree that they don't want any men anywhere near their toilets. Thanks very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. You're right, we don't.
No, exactly. Fiona, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Fiona McAnena there, Director of Sex Matters.